So there are a couple of things that you can do to make sure that you are working with someone reputable, and to avoid this all too common problem. The first thing and the biggest thing and the most challenging one, don't worry, I'll get to some easier ones here real quick, but the biggest thing that you can do is to just know what you're talking about. You likened it to a used car lot. I can go in there and be a much more powerful negotiator if I know a little bit about cars. I don't have to be an actual licensed mechanic or anything, but I know enough to know when you're making up parts that don't exist, for example. That allows me to bypass some of the just the quick and dirty scams that come up all over the place. That'll get you past a lot if you just have a basic literacy about websites and technology. If at any point in the early communications, or when you're starting to talk with a new agency, they start using a bunch of technical jargon, or they try to talk over your head or somehow imply, oh, you won't know what we're talking about, that's a red flag for me, because you can speak in plain English about a lot of this stuff, and if you really know what you're talking about, and you are knowledgeable enough, then you can explain these things to a 5-year-old, and it's perfectly fine. You don't have to go into absurd technical depth in order to explain the utility and the value behind some of these things that we're talking about. We're talking about websites or design or UI, UX or SEO or a pile of other acronyms out there. You can explain that fairly simply if you know what you're talking about. So if they start to say, you'll never understand, just pay me $1,000 and I'll handle it, that's a red flag. First tip past that is just to be very, very clear up front. Make sure that there are very clear set expectations. This isn't necessarily for a good agency or a bad agency. A good agency would hopefully guide you through this process and ask you the right questions. But regardless of who you're working with, make sure that there are very clear expectations set at the very beginning of the project, so they know what they're supposed to be doing, you know what you're supposed to be doing, and both of you are completely clear on what the end result is going to be. And that'll help you to end up with a product that you are actually happy with at the end, regardless of who you're working with. Another tip, if an agency, a web development agency, has a crap website themselves, why would you trust them to do your website? So go to their website, check it out.
Great point, Miles.
It's just crazy, the number of web agencies and developers out there that have crappy websites. Now, part of that is, some of them I know are just, they are decent quality developers. They're just busy on their client stuff, and so they don't have a whole lot of time to turn inward and update their own site. That happens. But again, generally, as a rule of thumb, that's all these tips are going to be, is check their website. And if they have a crappy website, maybe don't hire them. This is one that directly applies to the conversation that we were just having with your friend over there, Mike. Make sure that whoever you're working with gives you access to your own website. Regardless of what technology they're using, if they're doing a from scratch custom coded website, they should give you source code. If they're working on a content management system, like most agencies are nowadays, then they should give you login access, admin access, that you have access to everything. Whenever we do a website for someone, I make sure to tell them you have access to absolutely everything that I do. Now, half these tools aren't going to make you're not going to use them, and you're probably not going to want to touch this. But here it is, just in case you ever need to access it, you do have access to it. And here's how you would, get into the back end of your website. Here's how you access your database. Here's how you access, here's FTP access to the server. Even if you're never going to use these things, I want to make sure that you have access to it. So if an agency is saying that they're not going to grant access to, they're not going to grant you access to your own website, then that's a huge red flag. That means they're trying to hide something. What else do we have here? Oh yeah, this wasn't actually my tip, but I heard this, or someone told me this a few weeks back, and I kind of liked it, especially with the modern context, and that is, don't work with anyone that won't show their face. have an actual conversation with them. So, that might have been a little bit weird before now, but now everyone is used to having these sort of virtual conferences, these virtual meetings. Set up a Zoom meeting with them, set up a Google Meet with them, whatever. At least get on the phone with them and have an actual conversation. If all of your correspondence are over email or via text or something like that, then that's a big red flag to me. And if you ask them to meet with you, either in person or virtually, actually speak with you and show their face, and they say no, that's a telltale sign of a problem at the very least, if not a scam.
I'm back, Miles. Sorry. I've been frozen there, I think, for like the past 10 minutes. So.
Oh, you've been frozen the whole show, but it's okay. I think your audio
okay.
has been going through.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I guess the rest of my points here are really looking at their website, look at their portfolio, look at their reviews, just like you would do any other business. Talk to people who they've worked with, look for any reviews out there. Hopefully they have a Google My Business listing that has reviews there, or they have social media, Facebook reviews. If you can find anyone that's worked with them, try to get some sort of testimonials or something. And then finally, there should always be some form of discovery phase, as Mike refers to as a CNA, customer needs analysis. At the very beginning, if they don't do some sort of meeting with you in order to learn about you and learn about your business and really understand what it is you're trying to do, then they're probably not worth your time. I've worked with a couple of agencies, or I've seen a couple of agencies work with people that, won't go through that process of learning about you and your business, and they just immediately give you a quote. They'll immediately give you like, okay, cool, it's going to cost this much to do your website, without really learning anything about you. That means that they're not going to give you something that's really customized for you, or that's really built for you. They've just got some template that they give everyone, and they're not really going to bother giving you something that's really worthwhile. So especially if you're paying a real amount of money, a real chunk of money for something like a website, make sure that they express that sort of curiosity and put an effort forward to learn about you and your business before giving you any kind of proposal. So those are my tips for interacting with digital agencies and hopefully avoiding some of the issues that Mike brought up there. Basically, do your research, know what you're talking about before you go into the conversation, check them out online, anything you can find, reviews, testimonials, portfolio. Make sure that they are clear, open, and transparent. They're giving you access to your own site. They're willing to speak with you. They're willing to show their face and actually talk with you, and make sure that they're actually expressing a genuine interest in you, in your business, in your project before signing up with them.